I'll call you. Yes. Hello. Is it on? That's right. Hello. 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 Oh, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure. No, I can't hear. So that's what I'm saying. No, it's switch. Hello. Can you hear? Okay, fine. Right. Thank you. I'll take it then. Uh, welcome everybody to this session. The session is about scaling climate impact, greener innovation in adaptation technologies. Today, Her Excellency Ms. Zelena Kenela James, the Minister for Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, Grenada, will be here. You know, she's on the way. She will be joining us later, and then we really can hear from us. But we do have three eminent speakers today. Mr. Adam Elam, Head of Sustainability of Europe, Middle East, and Africa, Google. May I request you to take the seat? Maxime Bureau, uh, Government Affairs and Sustainability Director, 3M. May I request you to take a seat? And Mr. Chiu Yu Chen, Chairman of Association of Sustainable Ecological Engineering Development, was not able to be here, but he has requested his senior specialist, Jerome, Mr. Jerome, to of his company. Thank you. I'll be taking my seat there and continue this discussion. So, right. Ladies and gentlemen, scaling up scaling climate impact, green innovations in adaptation technologies. Uh, the focus of this session was around climate smart agriculture, water management, coastal protection, and early warning systems. But definitely, I believe we can go beyond and above that. And with the expertise that we have today in our panel, uh, they will be speaking to their strengths and their experiences. So uh, it's a 45-minute session, so we will want to be on time. Uh, so let me start off with Maxi. You, with you know, as you have extensive experience in policy engagements with governments in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and particularly in water-related uh, issues. So, what kind of bottlenecks have you seen or experienced that any government should focus on to, adopt water technologies that benefit people? uh, is one. And what would be your recommendations to the various governments in terms of policy and regulatory frameworks that support adaptation technologies?
Partha, thank you for the invitation from the WGO today. Um, Look, I think so. Maxim Bureau from 3M. Indeed, we are in Europe with today 15,000 employees. And if I take Europe as an example, where we have 27 um, manufacturing sites, I say that part because it's important for our discussion today. If you talk about water, for example, but coming back to policy or water or in policy and regulation. Look for 3M. 3M, we are a very diversified technology company. So as you may know us from the consumer products, for example, like post-it notes, which I
Well,
have
I
here.
use it, I think, every day.
I hope you use many of them. They are very useful. Um, and we go from consumer to healthcare with respirators to energy and transportation. So it's very diverse. Why I tell you that is because actually the message we pass to the governments will be very often the same for water or for energy or for transportation. You have a correlation in the sense that if you look at EU level, 3M, we have, as a European company, we are a US company, but we have a strong footprint in Europe, for example, where our 15 employees, 15,000 employees are Europeans. And you can hear I'm not very American from my accent. So the point being is what we want from the legislator is proportionality, consistency. Um, for example, if you take water, um, you will have requirements if you want on all our manufacturing sites to go above or beyond or above depending what you are looking at the limits, some limits. So what we see very often in the last years that the legislator, we understand it because it's pressure from society and we have to be responsible manufacturers. So we had a big push for very strong limits. And what is extremely important, we have said to the legislator that you have today available technologies, best available technologies, which are all of us we can use in China, in the US, or in Europe. Uh, but you cannot go beyond that. And the issue we have very often is that the legislator is putting limits that nobody can reach. So from the very beginning of the legislation being enacted, actually we are in breach of law. We cannot comply with the legislation. So here, what our recommendation is really that we have legislation which gives the guidance or the guidelines, if you want, and then country by country, we need to look at the limits which can be achieved according to the water basins, if you want. For example, if you take an example, they are different. My point being is we need to have measurements that we can reach. So that's the first thing. Let's have science-based regulation, risk-based regulation. Also, consistency we see, especially in Europe, and I don't know, for example, in China or in India, for example, if I take these two major countries, but I think it's a bit the same between the national level and the regional level. Uh, we need to have consistency of legislation, and we have some contradicting legislation sometimes between the federal level or the state level. So that's here we need to help the legislator to ensure consistency and time. We need to give time to the industry. We are all for strong legislation. 3M, we are for strong legislation with clear objectives. But we need, when I say but, I should not say but. I say, however, let's have a time frame which makes sense for all the parties to reach that. We had examples not on water, but example on deforestation. Big issue. Deforestation, you have a legislation in the EU which has been put on the table, and 3M we comply with it. We have no problem. But everybody recognized that we needed more time because when you talk about deforestation, it's traceability of your suppliers. You need data points which are very far in your supply chain, and you cannot do it within 1 year or within the time frame which was imparted. So that was my third component for the legislator recommendation. Give time. So do we implement and we comply smartly with legislation, not to tick the box, no, to comply smartly.
Uh, what kind of, just for the audience and everything, what are you really doing for water efficiency in the production methods that you do. So basically, or being more effective in using water, more efficiently using water.
No, thank you. Good question. I don't want to be too long because I want to
No,
listen
sure.
to my colleagues, but because that's a big question. So the, indeed, as what we are doing on 3M, our COS committee, that's why we're a member of the Water Resilience Coalition. When I say member, we are one of the founder of the Water Resilience Coalition. And as you know, it's a bit with net positive water impact as a concept methodologies. We are for very strong methodologies because, to your point, on our manufacturing sites, we are implementing best available technologies. And I will say 3M, we are very advanced in that because, of course, we are using specialty materials, specialty chemicals. So it's extremely important that we walk the talk, and which we are doing strongly every day with investing a lot of, I would say, capital expenditure towards ensuring that the water we give back to the community is a better quality than when it comes in. So on that, we work on that a lot, and we measure that from the entry to the exit. So it's extremely important we do so, and we do so.
Thank you. Thank you, Maxime. Adam, can I come to you now? And working with Google, and we all know Google is a massive, massive, tech industry, giant leader in the world. So, and we have, 3M on the other hand is also working on technology. But how do you think, technology basically can help with climate adaptation? Is one. Uh, and then, if you could let us know something about, uh, what have you seen the barriers towards uptaking of technologies into? And then the third, how can we help people around the world? Because Google, we all use your search engines and all that. So basically, how can you support people with adaptation technologies and all that? So
No, thank you for the question. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all having a productive COP, and thank you, WGEO, for hosting this session. At Google, we've been focused on technology and sustainability for many, many years, and we think technology can play a huge role in helping this transition to a more sustainable future, particularly the breakthroughs we're seeing in artificial intelligence. We actually looked at this opportunity just before COP last year and published a report with Boston Consulting Group that identified that existing AI solutions, so not the breakthroughs we might get next year or the year after, but existing solutions, if scaled up, have the opportunity to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions by up to 10% by 2030. So that's huge. Plus, play a significant role in climate adaptation, breakthrough climate modeling, research, etc. Let me just give you a few examples of how that technology is being deployed today. So, for example, we know there are huge issues around the world with flooding, affects 250 million people plus a year, often with devastating consequences. We're using, our teams have built an advanced AI hydrological model that, combined with local data, is able to produce riverine flood forecasting up to 7 days in advance with very high accuracy. And actually, this week we announced that we've extended our deployment of this now to 100 countries around the world, up from 80, covering 700 million people. You can have a look yourself. It's called Flood Hub. You can Google it. And we make that available to individuals. We also send out alerts through Android and through Google Search, what have you. But we also make that information available to aid agencies and to governments through APIs, and they're able to get historic data, they're able to get high resolution maps, etc. So it's one way that we're able to use technology to really help predict and to have people take advanced warning. But AI can be used in many other ways. I know this is, I decided to give some water examples given
please do,
given
please do.
our excellent moderator here. But we've been working on a platform called Global Water Watch. It's a partnership between Google.org, our philanthropic arm, WWF, and Delta's. Again, you can find Global Water Watch online. But this uses our Google Earth engine. This is our global geospatial platform that has petabytes worth of satellite imagery, land imagery, etc., etc. And it maps around 70,000 freshwater reservoirs. It gives near real-time information, making that available again to everyone around the world so they can take action, they can monitor, they can figure out the interventions that they need to do. So that's just another example of what we've been doing in water. And one more example is work we've been doing in New Mexico with Woolpert and Google. And this is using, again, this technology to spot leaks. They have huge issues there in terms of droughts. Spotting leaks, so fixing those leaks is a huge opportunity. But technology can be used in many different ways. Your question was somewhat what are the barriers to scaling?
Absolutely.
And I actually don't think that technology is the barrier here. Somewhat the sort of key barriers are the partnerships that need to be in place. All of the examples I've given you are Google working with others, Google working with NGOs, Google working with other commercial companies, Google working with governments, with cities. We really do need partnerships in place to, one, make sure we can source the best data to feed these models. But two, for example, at Google, we know what we're good at. We're not the experts in water. We're not the experts in cities. So again, how do we work with the right people to scale this up? We also need the right policies in place from governments. We spend also a lot of time talking to governments about making sure they've got the right infrastructure in place, making sure they're giving the people the right skills, the right training to be able to access and use these types of technologies. Because again, we want to make sure that everyone can benefit from the power of AI, not just rich countries or rich companies, but everyone around the world. So that's just a bit of an insight to some of the work that we're doing.
Uh, so, how do you really? We have talked about partnerships because and barriers also. But exactly, how do you really get out of those barriers and really go to the people who actually matters? So, how do do you have any experience or examples of those?
Yeah, I mean, it's very much a case of we spend a lot of time trying to find the partners talking. I've spent the last week talking to hundreds of partners that we currently work with or might want to work with. I was just meeting with UNFCCC talking about their adaptation program, which, where is there more opportunities there? We're part of the Early Warnings for All UN program, the WMO. So, it's talking to lots of organisations. We spend a lot of time talking to cities through organisations like C40, Global Covenant of Mayors, ICLEI. So it really is about being out there, trying to find the right partners, partnering with NGOs. But fundamentally, we're a research organisation as well. So we work with academia, we work with scientists. So we spend a lot of time trying to find the best people to work with. A to aid us, B to make sure we're doing the right things, but also as I say, C to really make sure we're bringing the best expertise for everyone because I don't need to tell this audience the urgency of what we that we need to act and the urgency of scaling up these solutions.
Thank you. Because I'm particularly, definitely I will probably get in touch with you later because I'm really interested to understand more about the Global Water Watch and the organization that I work for, WaterAid. It's basically potable water, drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene. So basically, and water goes through all three. So definitely those are the things that, I think NGOs who are working in that space could really, be beneficial there.
And just to sort of say, for keen to hear from the rest of the panel is, the technology is great, but if no one's using the technology, it's not having an impact at all. So again, once we've got these technologies, how do we really make sure they're used?
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, Jerome, and as I was saying, Mr. Chen would not come, so Jerome is deputizing for him. So I'm asking the question as Mr. Chen. Uh, Based on the experience of environmental research that you have done, a lot of or your organization has done, and I'm pretty interested in the concept of smart city, basically. And in Bangladesh, we are really talking about all this. So, what type of technology do you recommend to scale up for effective and efficient water management in cities? But in cities which are really built up, it's not that somebody's building a new city; it's already built. People are there, so it's full of activities there. So that is one. And can whatever that you are saying, can it be done across geographies or across various type of cities, small, large, hill, in areas where it's flooded, those kind of things, if you can. And what do you recommend for the city governments to concentrate on, and the policies, the regulations, and all that? So, if you could shed some light on that, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for organizing this and invite us, also the moderator and panelists. So, it's about the water management or the flood control in the city. I would like to share some experience from Taiwan. We we are from Taiwan and we have a lot of rainfall, and that's caused severe flooding. And but because we are a small island, we cannot keep the water. That's why we still have face the water scarcity problem. So from the some experience, we used to dig a lot of ponds. We say that is like a county of ponds, and allow the water for irrigation and for that channeling, and the itself become the big reservoir. But after urbanization, these ponds has been filled and converted to building and caused very severe flooding. Then our government just used the so-called low impact method. So to build the detention pond to detain the flood. But it's very difficult to improvise because it is already built. And I mentioned that Taiwan is a very small island, but we are very populous. Means a lot of people live on it. For example, we have all the city are actually very crowded, so it's very expensive to acquire land and most of the budget, like 80% or 90% of the budgets, are used for land acquisition. It's a luxury for use this kind of technology. And another example is that for our example, a school suffering from the flood and the drought, but because they used to convert the payment with a not with a permanent payment, a revolutionary payment with host just shows there. It's a country payment, very strong, very durable, with hose allowed to all the water, including rainwater, use waters through the water channel to the underground. We see that when water underground, it cause some trouble like flooding and pollution. But when it converted to the underground, it become groundwater, it become resource. So this is an idea about how we design the road. The water circulation in the city is a problem. We just want the water circulation. So by using an idea we propose is about the on-site water circulation. For example, in the community, in the school itself become a detention pond and becomes like a reservoir. So we can use water again and again. It's about the idea about circulation. So back to the question. So by using the payment, because we people need payment for economic development as well. Payment is a large potential. For now, we just drain the old water from the roads, cause a lot of problems. They become a vicious cycle for the water circulation. But it's so potential. We just make more than 1,000 projects using the payment to achieve the water circulation. Then we contribute for the water circulation and solving the water problems. And echo to the maxim about the water efficiency. Actually, if we can use water again and again in the scale of the community or in the city, actual water efficiency can be greatly enhanced. Also, echo to Google's water positive target. We want to gather much more water than we consume. Then will be achieve sustainable development.
Uh, could you, because I'm really interested in response city kind of,
Yes.
that understanding. So, if you could kind of elaborate on that and how that could support, water technologies or water efficiency, effectiveness, or water management in terms of a city.
See. So actually, we are the initiator of the smart city concept. And it's very straightforward that if a city can act like a sponge, absorbing all the water, and for water reuse, it's so attractive. And but for now, it's called so-called idea. The same idea refers to like low impact development, green infrastructure, something like that. Um, it is uh, so it's so called that it's very difficult. It's very easy to understand, but difficult to implement. The idea is very attractive, but we need to uh, practical solution to really, for example, that allow the water to infiltration, outside storage, outside purification, and for reuse. These are challenge, and we provide some solution for that for
Thank you.
smart cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, may I request, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, Your Excellency, Miss Karen Janela Canela James, Ministry of Climate Resilience, Environment and Renewable Energy from the Government of Granada. So, if you could come here and give your keynote speech. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Moderator, for the introduction, and you did very well with the name.
Thank you.
Distinguished panelists, delegates, esteemed colleagues, and innovators in climate action, it is indeed a privilege to address this event, scaling climate impact, green innovations on adaptation technologies. And I couldn't miss this opportunity to be present and be very active and give this keynote speech because I believe that as small island developing states, it is very crucial. And the topic and the panelists, I think, with your expertise and your knowledge, I think small island like ours, we need to be exposed to that. So I'm very honored to be here this morning. I bring you greetings from the beautiful island of Grenada. It is a small island developing state that stands at the intersection of climate vulnerability and resilient innovation. Today's discussion, I believe, is not just timely, but it is imperative. As global temperatures rise and the frequency of extreme climate events escalates, we find ourselves in a race against time to deploy solutions that protect lives, ecosystems, and economies. Adaptation technologies rooted in science and driven by innovation hold the promise of building resilience in the face of a mounting climate risk. The IPCC's report underscores the intensifying urgency of adaptation, highlighting the direct threats posed by rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and resource scarcity. Adaptation technologies informed by data and tailored to local contexts offer actionable pathways to address these challenges. So let's examine key areas where these innovations are proving transformative. So first, climate smart agriculture. Technologies such as drought resistant crop varieties, predictive weather analytics, and autonomous irrigation systems are essential for addressing food insecurity. And I'll give you an example. For us in Grenada, we are exploring data driven crop management tools to mitigate the impacts of droughts and pests. We've come out earlier on this year from one of the worst droughts we've ever experienced in over 15 years. And so I believe that if the Ministry of Agriculture didn't believe climate change affects agriculture in that way, that experience earlier on this year really proved that we definitely have to explore vigorously data driven crop management tools to mitigate these impacts. And the second one is water resource management. Advanced water technologies, including desalination, aquifer recharge systems, and smart metering, are increasingly vital in water stressed regions. Grenada's investment in integrated water resource management aligns with global best practices, enhancing both efficiency and equity in water use. We have so I should have added in my introduction that Grenada is comprised of, it's a tri-island state, it comprised of two other smaller islands, Carriacou and Petit Martinique. These two islands, unlike Grenada, they suffer tremendously with water, for water problems. And so we do have a desalination, we're looking at desalination plant that is managed by the water authority there. And this is, in terms of the management, water resource management is a key feature and a key aspect in terms of what we would like to do and how we have to strengthen our policies as a government to ensure that these islands do not go into any stress as relates to water access. The third one being coastal and urban protection. Of course, nature-based solutions like mangrove restoration combined with engineered coastal defenses offer scalable models for resilience. In Grenada, hybrid approaches to coastline management are safeguarding critical infrastructure while also restoring biodiversity, a dual benefit that underscores the importance of integrated adaptation strategies. And we do have a deficit there because we don't have the human capacity oftentimes to roll out and implement as we would like to. So it's not only for Grenada, but other small islands as well do face that challenge. Um, the fourth one I'll go into briefly is advanced early warning systems. So, technological advancements in early warning systems, such as satellite based risk mapping and machine learning algorithms for weather predictions, are reducing disaster response times. And we see that very evident in our recent, coming out of our recent hurricane in July. We've seen how these early warning systems have allowed us to prepare, so whereas some of our colleagues in the island of Carriacou and BC Martinique, they face the brunt of that impact. Most of them, some of them who did not face as much as they were able to rely heavily on the early warning system, and that guided our disaster management unit to enable them to prepare more. Um, we do still have, while the potential for adaptation technologies is immense, their widespread deployment faces significant challenges, as I mentioned earlier. The first one being financial constraints. Now, adaptation technologies often require significant upfront investments that governments at the local level cannot afford. For developing nations, the availability of concessional financing, innovative public private partnerships, and green climate funds are indeed critical. Tools such as adaptation performance bonds could align investors' returns with measurable resilient outcomes. Of course, the absence of enabling policy frameworks can impede the integration of adaptation technologies into national development plans. Comprehensive strategies, including Grenada's National Adaptation Plan, which we are revising now, can provide a blueprint, in my opinion, for embedding technology in sectoral resilience measures. As it relates to technology transfer and localization, while advanced technologies are being developed globally, their transfer to vulnerable regions often encounters logistical and capacity hurdles, as I mentioned earlier. Effective solutions require localization, ensuring that technologies are adapted to the socioeconomic and environmental context of target communities. And as I was listening to the panel, you asked the question, Mr. Moderator, to the Taiwan in terms of how can we scale out and how can we replicate what is happening there in different countries. And I believe that has been one of the biggest barrier in terms of rolling out adaptation technologies. Oftentimes you get technologies that are used or implemented that is not fit for context. And so sometimes when you think that you are addressing a problem, you are further exacerbating the problem because it is not localized enough. And so this is a big barrier for small islands like ours, especially for the Caribbean region. Um, but nevertheless, we still believe that there are opportunities for scalable solutions. Scaling the adaptation technologies necessitates strategic partnerships, informed decision making, and capacity building efforts. And I believe that there are three key areas or opportunities that we can use to bridge the gap between innovation and impact, and that is very crucial. The first being data driven decision making. High resolution climate modeling and risk analytics can guide targeted investments in adaptation technologies. Grenada, we are trying to, through the OECS, that is the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States, we are leveraging geospatial technologies to prioritize resilience measures, a practice that can be replicated across other small island developing states and other vulnerable regions. Um, the convergence of adaptation technologies with sustainable development goals amplifies their impact. For instance, coupling renewable energy, and it would be remiss of me if I don't add renewable energy in the mix. I believe that we definitely can couple RE microgrids with water desalination plants, as we've seen in Carriacou in my country, as well as St. Kitts and Nevis. They're also going into that as well, another small island. So addressing both the energy and the water resilience challenges and creating co-benefits. I think sometimes we oftentimes work in silos. And so, if we collaborate more within the different sectors, we can see that we can build these and transform these cities in a way that we would want to and at a faster pace. Um, International platforms such as the Global Innovation Hub, they of course play a crucial role in fostering partnerships that can accelerate technology deployment. I cannot stress the importance of South-South cooperation, supported by multilateral frameworks which can further enhance knowledge sharing and capacity building. And of course, the role as for small island developing states as one of the most vulnerable groups, states have a critical role in demonstrating the feasibility of adaptation technologies. This is our lifeline. It is between life and death for us as it relates to adaptation technologies. But despite our limited resources, Grenada has emerged as a leader, I would say, in community driven resilience projects, from renewable energy integration to sustainable coastal management. Our experiences, of course, it provides scalable models that can inform global efforts, particularly in regions with shared vulnerabilities. And not just Grenada, but there are quite a number of different Caribbean countries as well that has, what we can say, uh, the best practices. And sometimes I think as small island leaders, we tend to oftentimes stress on the limitations, stress on the lack of capacity, and we don't oftentimes tap ourselves on the back for what has been working for us. So there are examples within the region, within states that we can use to scale up at the global level. And so I would like to wrap up by saying that we definitely need a call to action. And the success of adaptation technologies, of course, it hinges on our collective commitment to science driven solutions. And I would stress that and I would reiterate that. The success of adaptation technologies on our collective commitment to science driven solutions and inclusive approaches. The time for incremental action is over. We must embrace bold, transformative change that scales technologies rapidly while ensuring equitable access for all, especially for the most vulnerable. And of course, nothing in life comes easy, especially within this climate space. So the task ahead is daunting, it will be daunting, but it is also an opportunity for us all to redefine how we live, how we adapt, and how we thrive in a changing climate. And so by investing in green innovations today, we are not just adapting to the future, we are shaping the future. And so let us act with urgency, guided by the science and a shared vision of resilience. And I'm so happy I'm here to hear some of the expertise, hear some of the knowledge, and of course, I will definitely take back some of these examples to my country to implement in the new year. So thank you so much, and I hope that you enjoyed the panel as well.
Thank you, His Excellency. Uh, thank you. Uh, just, I would just want to, as plus of the closing remarks, because we're running out of time is one. But she basically talked about collaborations, data-driven analysis, South-South collaboration, adoption technologies, uh, what has been working. So these are the things that basically I'm sure with 3M, with JW, and with Google, runs through your veins. How do you cooperate, uh, like a country like Grenada, and how can you support the things that she has said. So, as part of closing remarks, also in remarks to that, 1 minute of all of your time.
Yes, thank you, Minister. Thank you. And I like that you have environmental environment, water, but also energy, renewable energy. You mentioned in your title because at 3M we are very active into this sphere because it's not, as you say, it's not silos. Everything is integrated. You mentioned the link from desalinization to energy to water. I mean, it's very interesting. So, to as I have only 30 seconds now, uh, look, localization of solutions is very interesting. You mentioned science. I like the science-based or science-driven solutions. One thing we discussed yesterday here, actually, on more on the energy side, is on energy efficiency because we all say, "Oh, we'll need a lot of energy, a lot of electricity." Yes, okay, we have solutions for that, but we can do also energy efficiency solutions. And I mentioned one thing is, for example, for buildings, existing buildings, because it's very expensive to build new buildings, to have everything new. Let's look at our built, and you mentioned it part of the built environment, for example. We do window films. Window films is, you see, it's simple, you know. Well, let's disseminate it for a lot of existing buildings. If you change, you don't have to change all the windows. You just put films which are much more cost efficient, and this window film which will allow to use less electricity for air conditioning, of course, or when it's cold, but in Grenada it will not be very cold very often. But it's, as I said, you limit your use of air conditioning. We do that a lot either in South Africa or in Denmark, you know, with big real estate developers who have already built environment, and we do this kind of thing. So what I mean is you can have simple solutions which have been tested in different latitudes and which can be implemented very simply. So that was an example for energy efficiency. So you reduce the cost of electricity because you use less,
Thank
as an
you.
example.
Thank you. Jerome? Uh,
Okay, so I think for developing country, they need infrastructure, but actually, due to we say the financial is a problem. So actually, we aim to provide multifunctional uh, multifunctional infrastructure. For example, like a payment, we know that for existing payment, actually it needs a lot of maintenance, especially for like islands. Maybe because due to the flood, it needs some maintenance. So because we can use the, for example, like the regular refurbishment, then we can install our revolutionary infrastructure solution. This means by paving the roads, we also achieving the water solution, increasing converting the storm water into water resource, so for solving both problem of flooding and the water scarcity as well. So for the final, let's say is a before break a silo, we need to build a water silo for each kind of community for their sustainable water management and sustainable development as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam?
And thank you, Minister. It's great to hear about the leadership position that Grenada's already taking. Look, I think I covered a lot of this earlier. I think we believe AI is not the silver bullet to all of this, but AI technology and data can be a major tool in the toolbox here. Many examples, as I've already highlighted. I think picking up your point around context, that's absolutely right. What's going to work in the UK is going to be different than Mexico, which is going to be different than in a small island state, small island country, and we need to make sure we're deploying the right technologies in the right place. That's why for us we have to work with partners to make sure that solutions do work on the ground and having the desired effect. But what's really interesting is AI can often fill in the gaps. I mentioned earlier the work we've done to expand our flood forecasting technology to 100 countries now. We're now deploying that in countries where the data was just really scarce, often those countries that are most impacted. The technology is getting so good now, it's really allowing us to do that in a really robust way.
Thank you. And we are really out of time, but can I request a hand for the brilliant panelist and our keynote speaker? Uh, and hope to see you next time in any other sessions and particularly in Wiggle. Sorry. Oh, in Brazil, definitely in Brazil. Thank you all.